Okay, here we go. Right, so we are recording. So what I'm working on at the moment is I've been taking a bunch of the notes and everything that I've had on my Google Drive for the better part of like 3+ years now. Not to get into it too much, I have a lot of world building notes in regards to locations and all the different bits and pieces that I've been planning for Voarcel, which is my Eldritch Adventure setting. Initially this was going to be just for 5th edition D&D, but honestly I'm starting to think it'd be interesting to make it a little more setting neutral, not setting neutral, rather system neutral. But that having been said, a lot of the ground and a lot of the inspiration and a lot of the basis for this is really strongly tied into D&D in regards to the inspiration, the races and all that. So I think Dungeons and Dragons is definitely going to be the priority. But yeah, for the moment I figured I just wanted to quickly go over some of the stuff that I'm working on for patrons so far. As you can probably tell, we are over here on World Anvil. This is currently this is the private version of the world. I've actually subscribed to the more one of the paid subscription versions of World Anvil, and I'm slowly transferring all the stuff from Google Drive over here, and all of this is gonna be changed before it goes public. The main reason I've been doing that is because actually having everything sort of on tap has been really useful in terms of context, and it takes a little bit of time to get everything set up, but once you actually have it set up, it's been a lot more easy to edit. It feels a lot more fluid. So for those of you who have no idea what Voarcel is, Voarcel, as I said, this is sort of like an Eldritch Adventure setting that I've been developing on and off for quite a few years now. Initially, what my plan was last year I started on working on a book which was going to take this area here, the continent known as the Crux, which is where most of the campaign that I've been playing currently resides. This section over here, the Spectral Coast, let's just zip over here. This is basically where the campaign has been so far, although to be fair, the campaign started over here, little town of Daelig. Then there was a dragon attack over here in Hacksmith. And then the party has spent the past year or so in the city of Cosvel Grim. Basically, just most of the show and the campaign has been taking place all around this small area here. And I've been working on adding all the details from the setting book that I did, or like the first draft setting book, when this particular city was going to be the main focus. That was about, I think I started writing that about 3 years ago now. So a lot of the information is a little bit out of date, but we've got some stuff here involving Dankmire. Where a couple of episodes back we had the party go through this area here. They're currently lurking in the Dorchasilo, which is a mining operation that's being run by a rather unpleasant hobgoblin woman who, as they found out during combat, is actually a Barghest, a demonic goblin eater. So that's the whole thing that's been going on there. But yes, the point of having everything all here easy to access. This has been a really useful tool for me to give, to allow me to communicate a little more effectively some of the ideas I have, because the book, the PDF that I'm working on and everything, that unfortunately was going to be way too unwieldy and big, and it's going to take years. It's going to take years, because let me just zoom back out again, click here again to zoom back out again. So all of that was just that one little section there. That's the campaign that we've had on the live stream, and this entire continent was the book I was trying to write. Now, unfortunately, that is just far too much meat for me to deal with. So what I've done is I've split the book that I'm working on into 4 different sections. We've got the Northern Union, we have the Wildlands, we have the Forge Lands, and that does include the Spectral Coast, the little bit that you just saw there. So yeah, the map that I've currently got so far is, if we zoom out, it is basically right up to this section here. Basically, it's just that chunk, so there is plenty more that's been unmapped. So what I decided is I would actually start with something a little more easy to digest, something a little more understandable. Don't worry about the actual artwork for this particular map. I was just trying to, these are just like placeholder images. I was just trying to find some way of getting the borders, the country borders, to stand out. This is the coalition. This portion of the crux is centered around a bunch of 10-ish kingdoms that are all connected by a trade agreement. And in fact, there we go. We have a whole bunch of text that's going to be one of the intros to the book over there, and each one of these is a different kingdom ruled by different person. But every 4 years the coalition has basically, it's got an election and they decide who the next high king or queen is going to be. And so there's a set of dice rolls that you can do at the start of the book that determines who's in charge at the moment. And depending on who's in charge, there's going to be certain things that are different for your game. The point of the book is all of this is intended as a setting guide. So the idea is that a dungeon master can take this book, pick literally anywhere on the map, and be like, okay, I'm going to start an adventure here. So these are the few that we've actually finished so far. So say we were to go over to the Kingdom of Lilith, and for those of you who are familiar with the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, I took a lot of inspiration from the Heroic Chronicle. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Heroic Chronicle was a system of randomly deciding where in a setting your character would show up. I actually started working on one back when this book was going to be the entire continent, but since it's now just this one particular section, I've since expanded things. So imagine that you rolled and the first result was, okay, so you were actually a resident of Lilith. Okay, so whereabouts in Lilith are you from? And so you roll a dice and let's say, oh, he's from the city of Seneath. And then every single location, it's got the basic population, it's got a few stats about who, how many guards there are, what kind of NPCs that you're using. So over here, let me just bring that up a little bit. you have champions and guards. Those are the default NPC blocks that you can use. Apparently the leader is called Lord Mayor Lockendellan, who is actually a warlord NPC. It's got a very basic little description about what's going on, how it ties into the larger story of the area. And for the Dungeon Master, you click on here and it takes you to an article with a bunch of named NPCs, some of the stuff that's going on, and also links to some of the more relevant entries in the area. So, in essence, that is what I'm trying to do, but en masse. I'm trying to create a series of points, each of which have story hooks, have NPCs, have places where you can plop basically anywhere on the map. I want you to be able to roll and there is something for you to do, and more importantly there is something that will lead you to somewhere else. You know, a lot of the quests that I've built in this area, they're kind of designed in sort of like a spider web pattern. So one section that I don't really have fully installed yet over here, but there's a person here in Barthane Castle. You know, this is going to be a mild spoiler, but there is a major villain in, let's just zoom out a moment. There's going to be a major villain that takes place mainly around Argyros, this kingdom up here. There's going to be a major villain called the Butcher Queen. And actually, we've got the work in progress Photoshop map here. Now, several thousand years ago, this individual caused a lot of problems. Was actually responsible for building the capital, where the High King / Queen is elected every 4 years. There's a lot of like ancient history that has helped build the world around the players, and one of the starting points for the Butcher Queen storyline is actually in a different country, is actually in Lilith, even though the majority of the content is going to be in Argyros. So it's like every single area is connected to the ones nearby. There are certain story threads where if you start pulling, you might go on a whole trek across the land, and of course along the way your players are going to potentially interact with other characters, other storylines, other NPCs, and it just becomes a whole you know, world, you know, trotting, you know, campaign. You can literally do anything, or you could just basically have a one shot. So there is over here in Oriana, there's an area here called Kamla. It's just a small population, tiny little village that people are going to walk past. It's got like 70 people. There's a single teenage sheriff and 3 deputies who are trying to keep the peace here. Kamla is a small village off the beaten path that recently became the site of a strange ailment. So, we click this and we learn a bit more about Kamla. Kamla, several members of the village are exhibiting lethargy, memory loss, and have become heavily suggestible to those around them. There are also some villagers who seem to have false memories of friends and family who never existed, and the mayor, a human male named Brom Orangeseed, and his family have completely disappeared just a few days ago, leaving the village healer, a halfling woman named Priska Galbasai, and her sheriff Dane, a much younger human male who took over from his missing father, in charge of a rapidly unraveling community. The ailment is but one of several that has befallen the village in the past month. Now that enough is a story hook that you could run with and, you know, make some interesting stuff with. However, I'm not going to click here, but the actual answer to what is going on and how it connects to the much wider world is right there. So let's just tap back a moment. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. So that's that one little point there on the map. And then we zoom back out again, and of course we zoom back out again. It is my intention to get this section, the Coalition, all points on these maps, all 10-ish of these kingdoms finished by hopefully October of 2021. That is my primary focus. That is something that I am really looking forward to sharing with people. If you're interested, absolutely, share the video. Feedback, of course, would be absolutely great. Any questions, any comments, any kind of signal boosting, all of it is greatly appreciated. This is the first real time I've done something on this scale, and I would like to do it properly. Because once this year is done and once the Coalition's done, then we move on to the Forge Lands. Again, we already have a good chunk of this that's been taken care of so far, but eventually it's like I want the entire continent to be done. And then we've got this island here, then this island here, then this island here, and then of course yeah. So when I say I'm the creator of the world of Voarcel, I wasn't joking. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. One of the things I probably should have opened with, for those of you who are actually curious about what the point of this world is it just like a bunch of locations? It's just a bunch of settings? If you haven't actually seen the live stream that we've been running on twitch.tv/JourneysPlays, or also on the Journeys Plays YouTube channel, the best way to describe Voarcel is it is a Eldritch Adventure setting. The game begins much like any other like medieval or Renaissance era Tolkienesque fantasy world. However, as the story progresses and as the players start to notice more and more weird things going on, they start to realize things like every single night they're reminded that dragons don't exist. Any knowledge of dragons, any experience of dragons is erased from their memories. Every now and then you'll see some dude running down the street, screaming and pointing at the sky and saying, "Can't you see? Look!" And people just look up and, dude, it's just clouds. It's just clouds there. Don't know what you're on about. Sometimes people just, disappear for a while, then they come back absolutely fine and safe and sound. But yeah, people tend to forget things in Voarcel, things that they need to. There's a lot of really interesting toys that I'm giving to dungeon masters in order to really mess with the heads of their players. And this is a world that I was really excited about developing for a long time, and I really hope that I'm able to have the time and I'm able to get the support to fully bring it to life. But even if I never get to do the entire world and everything, I definitely, at least over the next 4 years or so, I definitely want to at least get the crux taken care of, and like maybe these are the points of the map. So but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, it's been a while since I recorded a dedicated video and everything. If anyone has any questions, if you wish to learn more, then absolutely check us out our live on Thursdays on twitch.tv/JourneysPlays. Also, you can check out some of the other more traditional D&D games that the group that I'm with runs on there. and you can actually check out the Kingdom of Lilith right here. This is completely available for free. All of this is available for free on Patreon. That's patreon.com/LunarBlazeStudios. And that's going to be it. Thank you so much, and you all have a good night.